It's late May 2015, and I am 1 year on T.
It is Thursday, June 12th, and I am 1 week on T. And I am 3 weeks on T. I'm about 6 weeks on T.
And I am 2 months on T. I'm 4.5 months on T. I'm 8 months on T. And I got my name legally changed today. I'm 9 months on T.
I am 1 week on T.
I am 1 year on T. Hey everybody, welcome to my 1 year on T video. It's so crazy, so hard to wrap my mind around the fact that I'm in this position, that I've been on T for 1 year. It's such a big milestone. It's so crazy to think about back in the past, like before I decided to transition, and I would watch guys' videos with their transition updates, and I would see these 1 year on T videos, and I would think, oh wow, they've come so far. Like, that's so amazing. Like, they've made such a huge change. I have gone through huge changes for sure, and I feel good about it. I feel so happy that I'm able to be in this position. I'm so happy that I had the opportunity to transition and that it's gone pretty smoothly and that I feel so comfortable being how I am now. It really is wonderful. Although I still have a ways to go, I feel like I'm still kind of in the beginning in some ways. But I also feel like I've come a really long way, gone through a lot of challenges, a lot of kind of scary or intimidating experiences, as anyone has when they go through transition. Our society tends to not accept us, or at least not know that much about transition, so it takes a lot of strength, a lot of will to go through coming out to people, doing your name change, working with the doctor and all of that. So, yeah, I'm glad that I've gotten through a lot of that hard stuff pretty successfully, and I feel good about it. Okay, so how about I do the thing where I tell you about physical changes? Let's do that. Alright. Hair. Let's do the hair rundown. So my head hair is pretty much the same as always, although of course the texture is a little bit rougher than pre-T, and I do feel like my hairline in the corners has receded a little bit. Just a little bit. I mean, it's even sort of hard to tell. But if it has receded a little bit, I feel glad about that because I like how it is now. I feel like, it's a little bit more manly than having my hair, down like that. Yeah, so we'll see if I end up losing more hair. Who knows? And facial hair. So there is some there. I mean, I can very clearly feel it. It gets quite prickly, certainly a day after shaving. And so I've got quite a bit on the chin and quite a bit of light but coarse stuff on the upper lip. And then I'm starting to get a bunch of coarse, thicker hairs, including a few dark ones on the sides of my face. So that's good. And I have a little bit underneath, but not that much. It's interesting how guys' facial hair comes in differently for different people. Like, some guys get a ton, like, underneath before they get any on the front part of the face. But that's sort of the opposite for me. Just interesting. And just body hair in general just continues to come in more all over the place, as is the usual. If you want to see the stomach hair, this is what it looks like. Although, of course, you have nothing to compare it to, but I'll tell you, this is much more than before. Yeah. Let's see. other stuff. And I do not yet feel as though I'm at the point where I would describe, as I heard some other trans guy online describe sometime in the past, I do not yet feel as though I have a squirrel in my butt, in terms of hair, so that's nice. So you can see I don't really have that much acne on my face, which I'm really thankful for. I guess you already saw my face, huh? Although I do have still significant acne on my shoulders. It's not the most horrible, but it's there. It's been there. And then I have a little bit of acne on my chest, but not that much. And other things. Well, how about body odor? Well, the body odor is certainly worse than pre-T, but it's not really as bad as I had thought that it might end up being, and I'm very used to it. I mean, it seems just like me. It doesn't really seem foreign to me. But it's like, I for sure have to take a shower every day, even if I don't exercise, which is different than pre-T. Muscles. The muscles seem to be just still gradually increasing. Kind of just all over. I feel like my arms continue to get a little bit more muscular. And, well, I can show you, can't I? And my legs get more muscular or more defined too. Something new that I've noticed in the last maybe couple of months is that if I'm just sitting, not moving, like sitting in an armchair with my legs kind of tucked up like this, and I look at my thighs, like I can see kind of some like contours, or I can see like where particular muscles are. So that's cool. Hopefully that means that some of the fat from my thighs is moving. I certainly have some on my belly. That is where it has gone. Like, if I got fat, I would have a belly. Yeah. So I have had some significant fat redistribution, and I'm motivated to try not to gain weight, fat at any rate, because I don't want to have a big belly, and I'm also really motivated to not end up with man boobs. I got rid of the boobs once. I don't want to get any of them back, so that's good motivation. So, same as usual in that I still have a very high sex drive. My body temperature, or at least my perception of it, is that it's warmer than pre-T. So, another physical comment. I feel like I don't look terribly different than how I looked pre-T. I mean, clearly I do see some differences, yeah, but I don't look quite as different as I feel like some guys look at the 1 year mark. Of course, I know it doesn't do any good to compare oneself to other people. You shouldn't do that, but I can't help it. Of course, maybe guys who are younger, like teenagers or in their early 20s, might have changes faster than an old 32-year-old person like me would have. I don't know. But I know that I'll continue to change over the next couple years. So that's nice to know. Clearly my voice is way deeper than a year ago, that's for sure. Although I don't have the experience of like noticing voice drops that I always hear other guys comment on about themselves. I know it's different from before, but week to week I don't notice any difference. Another thought that I've had, just on a totally different note, so one time recently I was taking a bath just to relax, And while I was sitting there, kind of just looking at my body and thinking about how it's changed and how I really like the changes and it feels really right to me, I had this thought, like, that would feel so devastating to have to go off tea for whatever reason. Like if the grid goes down and the pharmaceuticals go down or something like that. Like, that would be devastating. Like, to watch my body go back, like, to watch, like, body hair get lighter, or to lose the amount of muscles or the, like, muscle tone that I have, or to see my face change a little bit back towards more of a feminine appearance, and so forth. I feel like I would probably be so depressed. Um, it might feel kind of nightmarish to me. I was thinking about all this, and it suddenly reminded me of this book that I read for school in 8th grade, which I did not like at the time. I found it kind of disturbing, but I wonder if maybe I should read it again. It's the book called Flowers for Algernon by, I want to say, Daniel Keyes. If you haven't read it, it's about this guy who is like retarded, basically, and it's kind of sci-fi in the sense that scientists come up with a way of making a retarded person smarter, like their IQ would go up. So this guy got that treatment, and he gets smarter, and he gets an IQ of like 180 and becomes a genius. But then the treatment kind of malfunctions or wears off, and he gradually goes back to being retarded. And that, of course, is very sad and a very strange experience for him. And so I identified with that because I feel like going off tea, it would just be kind of like that. It would feel like that to me. So I just found that interesting, and it gave me the fact that I related to that book gave me some more insight into my own feelings about transition and being on tea, which is that I like it and I need it. It like this year I felt much less depressed than at any point in my life that I can remember anyway. Any point in my adult life. I've had like problems with like clinical depression, and I have not felt depressed. Like, I've had sometimes lately when I have had a feeling that was unfamiliar to me, because I've been discontent living in the place where I'm living, and I really want to move, and I am going to move, although I can't do it, I can't do it today. And I'm like, what is this feeling? It's like, I mean, it's kind of like being depressed, but I don't really feel depressed because I still have my interests, and I get excited about certain things. It's easy for me to smile or laugh, yet, like, I'm kind of depressed. Like, what is that called? And then I was like, oh, I guess you would call that being unhappy, which of course is different than depression. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting, to have a negative feeling that's not depression. And unhappiness is kind of better than depression, because at least I don't feel completely like I want to die. So, I just feel like, wow, well, that's nice. To have something be not so good in my life, and yet I'm not horrifically depressed. I'm very thankful for that. So, there are just all kinds of signs for me that transition was the right choice. What a surprise. I obsessed about it for 8 or 9 years, and it turns out that it was the right choice. Who knew? Oh man, took me a long time. So, I'm going to show you a few comparison pictures of pre-tea and being on tea. Here you go.